Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Glorio Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet. You know, we've been doing this a long time, over 10 years now. We're about to hit 5 years on this iteration of the podcast, believe it or not.
Wow.
Nice.
And,
cool. Wow.
Yeah, in January, I believe. And,
killing it out here.
I you know, as long as we've been going, is it possible that we're going to outlast Twitter?
Yeah, maybe.
You know,
given the current circumstances,
it's certainly in the cards.
Yeah.
You know, if I were a betting man, I'd say, and I'm definitely not biased here. This is not insider trading. I'm not pulling a Yuji Naka here, but I would say, from my unbiased perspective, I think the Glorio is a safe bet. I think you should invest in Glorio. I think.
I'm totally not.
I think
buying,
it's worth your money and time.
Totally not buying Glorio stock in your own name right now.
Yes.
Yeah, we're fitting all the timely news stories in, I guess, at the moment. But yes,
we live in the clown dimension, man. The number of headlines we are getting hit with this week is
yeah. I mean, by the time this actually goes out in a couple days, who knows what will have happened by then? But we'll see how it goes. Anyway,
topical.
We've got some anime to talk about. So, just to introduce everybody, I'm Jel. I'm joined by Iro.
I'm still here. I'm not dead yet.
And joined by G.
You know, I think the title of Chapter 3 of Tactics Ogre perfectly summates the current vibe, which is ambition and greed rule, while dogs and swine serve.
Oh, God, yes. Yes. Well, I have to admit, I wanted to talk about Tactics Ogre because Tactics Ogre Reborn came out this past week. And I want to talk about it, but also I want an excuse to make "Let Us Cling Together" this episode title.
Yes,
because Tactics Ogre just jam packed with amazing chapter titles and whatnot.
Yes.
But yeah, but yeah, actually, we did want to. I did want to talk. Joking aside, I did kind of want to talk a little bit about that because, you and I have been playing that.
Yeah,
one day perhaps I will.
Yeah,
I'm in the middle of the Venn diagram. Like, we've got G here as the Tactics Ogre circle. I'm over here as the Final Fantasy Tactics circle, and Gel's here in the center.
I'm in the middle of the diagram. Yeah, but yeah, no. Tactics Ogre Reborn came out. That is, of course, the remake of the original Tactics Ogre. Let Us Cling Together,
which is a remake of Tactics Ogre, right?
Yes, which is a remake of like the Super Famicom, yeah, and aside from Fire Emblem being the great granddaddies of the SRPG genre, right?
I mean, even before Final Fantasy Tactics, right? Tactics Ogre or Ogre Battle,
the March of the Black Queen.
was sort of Matsuno's original SRPG baby, right? His testing ground for his ideas of maps with height differences and geopolitics.
Yes.
Class systems.
Yeah, and as someone who, like, Final Fantasy Tactics is arguably my favorite video game of all time, and
it's a good game.
And I've attempted to play this Tactics Ogre game before, and I think my brain was just not in the mindset for it, as it is now. So getting this remake, I've been very much into it, and you can definitely see, because they're both Matsuno games, right? And then he created Tactics Ogre. He did Tactics Ogre, and then he would do a couple years later Final Fantasy Tactics, and you can definitely see like the DNA there of like ideas he was trying in Tactics Ogre that carried over into Final Fantasy Tactics and whatnot. It's pretty interesting even just from that perspective, but
and I think even like coming at it in 2022, like I feel like the thing that is so striking about that game that I guess I can only imagine must have been like fucking mind blowing in like 1990, you know, whenever this game came out originally.
95, yeah.
95 is like the choices, right? Like the dialogue choices you make and how significantly some of them can affect the progression of the story, right? Like,
right. Because,
you know,
otherwise we're like in 95 we're still sort of in the era of what thou must for JRPGs, right?
Right, like Matsuno is putting Tactics Ogre down here, you know, he's slamming that cartridge into the Super Famicom and he's saying, you will commit the war crimes.
I mean, this is the same year as like Chrono Trigger, right? Like, which is like, you know, Chrono Trigger is obviously an all-time great video game
adventure of, you know, robots and frogs fighting baddies.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty remarkable achievement for its time period, and I mean, obviously there have been, you know, enhancements over the years for the remakes, and maybe some things don't age as well as others, but I think it still holds up pretty good. Like, even playing it right now,
I do think that a lot of the changes they have made, are pretty smart ones in terms of what they have tweaked with the sort of the engine that is the gameplay. Like, quite frankly, okay, so here's the thing, right? So I have only ever played the PSP version of Tactics Ogre, right? Like
that's the base for this version, right?
Yes. You know, I was 4 years old in 1995, so it was not quite there.
I don't think
come out in the States until the PSP.
Yeah, I think the PSP was the first time it was
playable
in the US. Yeah,
version that came out.
All right, just okay. So my timeline is corrected then, but then I can speak to that. The PSP version of Tactics Ogre is kind of grindy because like, yes, they did the like classes level up as a whole thing, but like the thing about the original, and by original I mean the PSP version of Tactics Ogre, is like weapons and equipment had like prereqs you had to meet. Like they had skill prereqs that you had to grind.
Sort of how like in Fire Emblem, like you can't use the higher level swords unless you have enough like sword proficiency.
Yeah, basically, right? Like even consumable items had like prereqs that you had to hit to use them. Like all the skills. So, Jel, since you've been playing, you know, you've probably already noticed that, you can kind of switch classes freely in this version of Tactics Ogre, right? Because, you know, if you're a level 10 warrior and you switch over to level 10 knight, you will already have the level 10 knight skills available to use.
Yeah.
That's not really how it worked in the PSP version. Like, you had to actually kind of like grind individual characters.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's just like the bones of the game are fundamentally the same as they were in the PSP version, but I think they made some smart choices, just get rid of like a lot of the extra hours of grinding that you had to do in the PSP version. And I think that, you know, and here's the thing, right? Grinding is sometimes fun in certain games and in certain, you know, turn-based strategy RPGs. It can be fun. I don't think grinding was that fun in Tactics Ogre. Like the combat is good, but it is not so like uniquely compelling that it alone could be the reward for like spending 20 hours leveling all my guys up.
Yeah,
you know?
And it's so time consuming with every battle's taking like, you know, 30 plus minutes or something. Right?
Yeah.
Like, so you know, at some point you've got like, this is more so in the story modes, but you know, you've got 10 units and 4 guests, and then there's 12 units on the other side. You know, your battles are taking like 45 minutes. Yeah. So, which is fun, but like, I don't want to have to repeat that
10 times to get
10 times just to get, you know, use the sword I want, right? So
like the thing I found pretty nice about this new version, Reborn, is like I am doing a little bit of grinding, but it really is only when I am changing classes to like, you know, let's say I'm changing Denim from warrior to say like berserker, who uses fists and axes, right?
So then you need to like grind a bit to get your fist and axe proficiency up.
Basically, yeah. Like that is the only thing I'm doing, you know.
And you can do that in like 2 or 3 battles or something. Like
the auto battles, they're very fast, you know. And
that's good.
but otherwise, like, I'm just kind of going story mission to story mission, which feels really nice compared to the PSP version. One thing I gotta tell you, Jel, in case you haven't realized it, have you upgraded your pants yet?
Oh, pants.
My pants?
Pants.
Like buying new ones?
Okay, have you unlocked crafting?
Yes, but I haven't actually like adding like the +1 to them, basically. Like
all right, Jel. I'm gonna give this one to you for free.
Okay.
All right.
Upgrade my pants.
Upgrade your pants.
Okay.
All right. Because do you know what +1 pants gives you?
I did not look, but
+1 movement speed.
Oh fuck.
Wait, really?
Yeah, dude.
That's always
What?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
That's like game breaking.
Yeah, I remember playing, for example, Fantasy Tactics and slapping the +1 move speed boots onto everybody because you need that shit.
Yeah, dude. No.
Any SRPG like this, you give me +1 movement, I'm taking it.
Because you're
yeah.
moving
the real tactics
like maybe
ogre
5 tiles, right?
Starts here. Yeah, no, that means that your denim now gets 5 tiles of movement. Your wizards are now moving 4. It is a game changer.
It's a huge percentage upgrade.
Okay,
as soon as we get off this podcast, I'm gonna start crafting my pants.
Go craft those +1 pants.
Yes,
and you know,
upgrading my pants.
I'm only getting started. After you upgrade all the pants, Jill.
Okay.
You want to upgrade the gloves.
Okay.
Because +1 gloves gives you +1 jump.
Also good.
Wow.
Not as good, but
which doesn't make any sense.
No, it means you can like climber, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Gloves are better.
Is that the logic on that one?
I think that's the implication.
Okay, sure. We'll take it. All right. Well, you're putting me on the real game here, so I'll have to.
No, believe me, yeah. Like don't act like in all seriousness, don't sleep on the upgrade system. The crafting is kind of where the real power curve starts to appear in Tactics Ogre.
We're now a strategy guide podcast.
Yes, like certain weapons, if you get them up to +1, will get like a secondary ability, like has a chance to inflict silence when hit.
While that does sound broken, it is kind of cool because usually I didn't even really look, because in most games when it's a +1, it's like, oh, I get 5 extra attack or something.
Right,
it's not like a very exciting thing to waste your time on, and I'm like, okay, that sounds actually valuable, so I'll definitely have to dig into that more.
Get those pants.
Yeah. But yes, crunchy mechanical things aside, also just I'm a sucker for the political intrigue and class warfare and tough choices you have to make. I didn't want to have to fight that pregnant woman, but sometimes you do what you have to do.
Yeah. Hey, this is how much do you value your freedom, Jel? Is it worth more than this person's livelihood?
I also kind of appreciate that the chaos route seems to be like the main route. Is that a fair assessment, or like the easy, like the more like natural route to take?
Yes, I would say that like chaos is probably considered the more sort of, despite its name, it is considered the more conventionally heroic route.
Yeah.
I would say the morality of the chaos route is a little bit less
questionable.
Actually, a fair bit less ambiguous. Like you it's definitely more straightforward in terms of what its heroes want and the goals that they need to achieve to make those those ideologies, those desires a reality. I think personally, I find so I'm also currently playing Chaos first, but that's for like absurd min-max reasons. I think Law Route is maybe the one, in hindsight, looking back 20 years, Law Route is the one that is maybe a little bit more interesting. Like, it's a little bit more, it's a more complex meal. There's more to chew on there in terms of like...
Is it like me playing Black Eagles and Fire Emblem, or...
Kind of, but not quite, right? It's like, I won't spoil where Law Route goes. Obviously there is the decision at the end of chapter 1 that sort of hints to you where the Law Route goes. But I would say that a lot of Law Route is it is a story of redemption, right? It is the story of a man who has realized he has committed the gravest sin imaginable.
That's actually not the way I thought that was going to go, but yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense. It makes sense though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like Law Route is about sort of dealing with the consequences of mindlessly following orders and then having to come to terms with the actions you have committed yourself to, and sort of like, is there anything you can do for the rest of this game that will ever like have a chance of redeeming you? And the answer is ambiguous at best. And so for that reason, I think at the time, right, like Chaos Route makes a little bit more sense because it is the more heroic one, and like it is more about like breaking. Chaos Route is inherently about breaking the shackles, right? It is about destroying the wheel, so to speak.
Right.
Whereas Law Route is definitely it's you are still constrained by the system, but as a result, the things the characters do within that system kind of get very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like there's more nuance to it, right? As opposed to, I feel like I don't feel too terrible about any of my chaos decisions yet, but you know, it's interesting. The fact that we're even pulling these things out from a 1995 video game is pretty cool. But
yeah, no, bunch of weird 1995 video games remakes coming out lately, huh?
Yes,
2 in 1 year.
Oh, Live Alive. Right?
That was 94. Sorry, never mind.
Okay,
close enough.
Close enough. I gotta finish that too at some point. But yeah. So that game is pretty good. We also had Ira. Did you add Pokemon on here?
I did.
Okay. Scarlet Violet came out.
I'm a couple hours into the new Pokemon game, and there's some interesting stuff going on there.
Really?
Considering it's, you know, the thing about Pokemon is it's always an iteration on fundamentally the same thing. And so at some point, the tiny changes seem big. Right?
What did they change?
The sort of thing this time is that it's a more open world sort of game of like, after you finish the tutorial zone, they basically say like, hey, here are all of the boss fights here on your map. Okay, have fun. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Right. I heard you can do the gyms in any order in this game.
So obviously, like, for example, yeah, that was my understanding. Obviously, like, I went to a location and the Pokemon were 20 levels above me and I got bodied, right? But like, it seems as though I can just run to, I don't know, the like ice type gym or whatever far away and go do that. And I think that's pretty interesting to have that sort of
that is interesting. Although if you actually can't do the gyms, then it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit to me.
But I was gonna say, do the levels scale to you?
Do not appear to scale.
Well, then functionally, that's not actually that open world.
Yeah.
Because
that kind of dampens it a little bit.
There's basically they have you go to Pokemon school and then they're like, all right, time for your independent study, and you basically have 3 tracks you can do simultaneously, which is the gym, the normal fight trade gyms. Then there's like some dude that wants you to investigate, you know, the special Pokemon around, and then those get put on your map. And then somebody tells you, hey, we need to take down Team Star because they're baddies, and here are their hideouts on the map.
Okay.
And so
I guess that's one of the school tracks.
I guess they're all hooligans. They're all
engage. Okay, fine. They're just hooligans, because I was gonna say this is like the engage in paramilitary actions against a criminal organization school track.
That's pretty funny.
And the other big feature is sort of the multiplayer stuff, where you can just, you know, multiple people can load into the same world and run around, and it doesn't appear to limit any of your actions.
Interesting.
So like,
okay.
I jumped into my friend's game like yesterday, right? And so I'm running around catching Pokemon somewhere where he can't even go yet, and he's doing his story cutscenes while I'm out catching shit.
Interesting. I mean,
and
that's
now all the battles are in the not plot battles, but all random battles. There's no wild random battles. The Pokemon are just running around and you attack them.
Right.
And so the battle's happening in the field, and I'm just, he's battling a dude. I'm just running right through that shit in circles, which I thought was
I mean I mean that's kind of interesting. Although again, I don't know what function that necessarily. Well, actually, no.
It's got hang attitude. I mean,
it's also a different way to like get Pokemon from the other version, right? Like if you want to try to catch them yourself rather than making your friend trade them to you.
About that.
So the thing I have to ask then, because I guess that actually explains some of the GIFs and videos that have been proliferating online.
Right.
Because I was thinking to myself, like, we might as well just get into it, right? Like, apparently this game is, like, on a technical level, like...
Oh, yeah.
Held together with string and duct tape.
Yes.
Like,
it does not run very well at all.
And so I was watching videos of, like, people saying, man, look at, like, how bad these random battles are looking. And the thing that immediately struck me was, like, wait, hold on a second. I can just see the background in these fights.
You don't load into the battle zone. It just happens
right
there.
And so... as much as people like, poo-poo the concept of like, get, random encounters, switch to battle zone.
Mm-hmm. There was a advantage to doing it, right?
Right. Was there a technical reason to do that, right? Is because trying to run Pokemon battle instances in the open world is perhaps more than... here's the thing, not more than what the Switch can do, but maybe more than what Game Freak can do.
Yeah, I would say, I haven't had too many problems in battles. I've had way more issues in the roaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, and, like, I don't know if this is new or not, but I haven't played a Pokemon game in a hot minute, but you can just remember and forget moves at will.
Wait, what?
You can just go into your Pokemon's move list in their summary, and then there's an option to remember old moves or forget a move, and you can just do that.
That is already
crazy, man.
That's crazy, but also the competitive Pokemon battler in me appreciates that.
I appreciate it, but also
it was such a pain having to I raised
yes,
3 different perfect IV, perfect EV Scizors with Technician. And
they're just saving people like G from themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because each one had a different moveset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know what? Yeah, save me for myself, please, Game Freak.
Yeah.
I
mean, small things like that do help make...
Yeah.
So the problem I always have with Pokemon, right, is these are good changes. Will these good changes still be around in the next Pokemon?
That's sort of the issue, right?
Right, because the problem with Pokemon is here's the thing. And here's the reason why I think this is why Sword and Shield kind of broke me, right? Like, I actually never played Sword and Shield. Here's the thing. Pokemon games introduce quality of life improvements all the time. Then
they get rid of some of them.
And that's the problem. Yeah. There's no consistency to it.
For example, that at some point, I believe in Gen 5, TMs became permanent. They don't break.
Yes.
And you can use them as many times as you want. In Sword and Shield, they had TMs that you could use as many times as you want, and they were introduced to TRs, which were a little harder to find, and did break in one use, and had the good moves on them, right?
See, why would you roll that back?
And so there were TMs and TRs. Now, in Scarlet and Violet, there are only TMs. They break in one use again.
Oh my god.
But you can, when you find one, they seem to be in specific locations, like in old games, right? And you find one, it gets added to your crafting list. And you can go to a machine at the Poke Center and feed it crafting materials to spit out a TM that you want.
This is not nearly as exciting as +1 pants.
No.
No, I agree. Which is like, I'm like, I see why you might want to do this, because it's like, we're going out in the world, but I don't think it's a good idea necessarily.
Yeah.
It sounds like more motivated by, we need something to add more time killing element for the open world concept than actually making the game good.
But I'm interested in the structural stuff of the open world, and like, I haven't really explored, and I don't expect it will actually have much meat to it, but you go to Pokemon school at the start, and there's a big ass school building, and you pick from a menu which area of this campus you're going to and who's hanging out there to have stuff to talk to you about, and you set your classes, and it doesn't actually seem like there's much there, but it just had me going, what if we had a Persona Pokemon type game?
I mean, isn't Persona just Pokemon anyway?
Yeah, exactly. I know. I still put some stock into the milieu of Pokemon.
I know. Yeah. No, look, of course, no. I still, again, even though like Sword and Shield broke me of the spell, I do look at these games and I go, there is nothing quite like them, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I could be snide and be like, the best Pokemon game of the last 5 years was Shin Megami Tensei 5,
okay.
But that's not true. Yes, you collect demons, but it is not the same, right? Like, there's something indelibly unique to the Pokemon fantasy that is very difficult to recapture.
Yeah. I have not played it yet. I'm not sure if I will or not, but I did buy it for my niece and nephew, who are actual children that the game is targeted at.
I bought this game almost entirely out of spite, because I know a guy who was super excited about it, and I was like, sure man, have fun. And then like our mutuals were weirdly antagonistic towards him about it publicly, and so I was like, fine, I'll buy this game.
All right, which version did you get?
He got Violet, so I got Scarlet.
And what was your starter? Is the most important question. Did you pick Weed Cat?
I did pick the cat.
Pick Weed Cat. Okay.
Yes.
Scarlet is the one with the hot professor, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, I guess they're both pretty hot, right?
They're both
but the lady
hot.
professor, yes.
I think the two professors are married and have a child who is one of the rival characters.
That does,
good for them.
That does not prevent them from being hot.
Yep.
But yeah, I bought it for my niece and nephew, and my niece went on
for them.
No, I only bought them the one version. I'm not buying the double pack. But
which one did you get them?
They wanted Violet, so we got Violet.
Yeah,
and my niece went on a whole speech about my niece, who probably wants to be a game designer at some point, went on a whole speech about how she thought the graphics were flat and soulless.
They are. I can't disagree.
All these fucking, I swear, okay, Jel, I'll let you keep going, I promise, but I swear I feel like I am seeing like a trend of like children like between the ages of like 8 to 14 who
they're learning.
Were likely raised on YouTube like video games.
She has that language.
God.
Who are adopting that language.
That
she's already like a full-formed YouTube game critic with the way she looks at video games.
Great. That's terrible, but
and then my nephew was mostly cracking jokes about how the rival character appears to be like way older than your main character.
Yeah, you go to the school and like there's kids of all ages there. So.
And she's like, why is
Nimona
17-year-old girl beating up on a child?
Oh no, not a hot senpai.
Yeah. So I might check it out if I wasn't. I would probably get it if I wasn't playing Tactics Ogre right now, which
Pokemon,
is a huge time sink. But yeah,
to an extent, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, we need to keep moving. So, the other thing we wanted to catch up on, getting back around to actual anime. Well, Pokemon is pretty anime, even if we're talking about the game. But getting back around to talking about actual anime, we all finished watching Cyberpunk Edgerunners and thought now it might be a good time to catch up on that.
One episode a week, as God intended.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you guys did that. I actually did binge the second half of it in like 2 days, which I hated.
Fair enough.
But I wanted to get it done before the podcast. So
Okay.
Right. Well, we appreciate your sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's what'd you guys think? It's pretty good.
Stick with Trigger.
Wow.
And make it.
Yeah. No, they. As Arrow said, Trigger did it, man. They took a show. Okay, we took a studio famous for its often accused style over substance approach to directing. All right, so we're already taking that as our primary ingredient here.
Mm-hmm.
We gave them a franchise that was we gave the franchise a game that was widely panned for how like flat and soulless it was in its approach to cyberpunk tropes and ideas.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And they somehow made like one of the coolest, like most surprisingly thought-provoking cyberpunk works of the last few years.
Yeah. It's pretty remarkable how low our expectations were going into this, and they did pull it off.
I'm the only one here who's played the whole game, right? I think you both.
Yeah, I played like half of it.
I think I got right up to the "we're gonna attack Arasaka tower."
You basically played the whole game then.
And
but
then,
it's like,
yeah.
Comparatively, the anime is so much has such a better finger on the pulse of what cyberpunk the genre is actually about than the game does. Like, it's all about how the pyramid of capitalism, right? And how it's you have to you either step on people to get up or you kill yourself to get up.
Yeah, I think like the thing that I found so like deeply compelling about Edgerunners is that it turns out that episode 1 of this whole show was going to like I remember when we all watched episode 1 and we were all like, wow, this is a surprisingly a surprisingly like smart take on the cyberpunk genre. And I think I even said something along the lines of like, look, are they going to throw that out by episode 6? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Turns out no. Episode 1 was the thesis of this show all along, right?
Yeah.
That human suffering, that human capital being the grist for the mill is the capitalist dystopia of cyberpunk working as intended, right?
Yeah.
Like it is not a failure of systems, right? It is not a failure of intent. Like Cyberpunk Edgerunners is a cyberpunk show that understands that this dystopia, the way these characters behave, the way they treat each other, is the system working as intended.
Yep. Keep everyone below you fighting it out for the chance to get to where you are. And
and then there's always somebody higher anyway, right?
Yeah, like, you know, since we've watched the whole...
Yeah, every time, like, first half of the show, Faraday's your like hyper smug villain fixer guy who's, you know, everyone's got to report to him,
right?
And then,
always in control.
In the second half of the show, he keeps talk to his bosses, and they keep shitting all over him.
Yes,
just like anyone else, right?
Yep.
And that's great. And then his bosses get shot on by their bosses.
Yeah, no, I love it. Right? Is that it understands that there's always a bigger fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, since we've all watched the whole thing, we can afford to jump around a little bit. Like, like one of my favorite moments of the last episode is when Faraday is like bleeding out on the ground and he's like trying, like even in his death throes, he is still trying to do what everybody in the show does, right? Which is posture, right?
Yeah.
He is still in fake it till you make it mode, even as he's bleeding out, trying to boss around Adam fucking Smasher, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to tell Adam Smasher, like, Turi, take those guys out. And
who the fuck are you?
yeah, my favorite line in this whole show, or one of my favorite lines about this whole show, is Adam Smasher just looking at this dude and being like, "Who the fuck are you?" like,
What should I
like
do anything?
this,
You're
right? Like this dude, yeah, like this dude who like was for the first half of the show so clearly like delineated, so clearly defined as, you know, the de facto authority figure in this show, is like, himself a nobody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this was very intentional, but like they dress him up nice in like a suit and everything, right, to make him look like he's some kind of big shot.
I mean, he looks like the final villain of like BNA,
right? Like, and then by the end, it's like the you know the Arasaka corpos are like this guy's street trash, right? Like that's
just
like
any other shitty fixer.
Yeah, you know, and it's really well done from that regard.
And I mean, you know, I guess we're just talking about the last episode, but like,
yeah, I did want to. So I did want to say, because this is always an ongoing conversation. We even brought this up last episode about like how important endings are, and for me watching this, I was actually almost robbed of my joy watching it, because the whole time I'm thinking they're going to mess up the ending. They're going to mess up the ending.
Trigger doesn't mess up the ending.
or okay, it wasn't so much that I thought they were going to mess up the ending, but like the possibility was looming over my head the entire time,
right?
Until like the very last episode, and yeah, no, they nailed the ending.
Yeah, dude,
is that Trigger's actual greatest strength? Is like.
They always
they know how to ending. Just do the crowd pleaser ending. Like,
I legitimately
okay. Here's that's an interesting question. Was that a crowd pleasing ending? Because it's very bittersweet.
Okay,
right. Wait, that's the thing. I mean, you say bittersweet.
That was the wrong way for me to phrase it. But like, it was correct. Like,
maybe not even sweet really so much. But
right, no, mostly just bitter.
Right.
Let's be real.
Like, it was the correct ending for that show.
Yes.
Right.
I think that's kind of more what I mean. Is like it was. You know, it was a satisfactory ending, like it was satisfying. But
I think what Iro is actually getting at is like Trigger. I think more than like I think a lot of studios out there is uniquely really good at understanding like what is the last page we should leave the viewer on, right?
Yeah.
Like the last page, the last paragraph, the last line, right? Like, and they understand like the right ending to give to the right show, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like Kill la Kill has a great ending. Gridman and Dynazenon also have great endings. Cyberpunk Edgerunners also has a great ending. And it is an ending that is like in some regards so remarkably different from stuff they've done before,
right?
While still being the stuff they are famous for.
They still go to space.
Yeah.
Okay, they still go to space.
They still have a mech. They still go to space.
There's still a mech, and the first 2/3 of the last episode is still just like insane. It's
charging in and
sex,
killing everyone.
It's sex, violence, and Mach speed, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the boldness to end it the way it does, right? Like, because I had been speculating the whole time. Okay, like David is going to die. He's going to sacrifice his life to get Lucy to the moon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he does. But like,
that was my favorite part, is the reveal of like the moon being not what they were billing it to be.
Right? Like,
park.
Like that is the thing that is maybe the most like emotionally like scarring of the whole thing. Right? Is David subjected himself to like an insane amount of physical and psychological torture to basically afford sending Lucy to like
a tourist trap,
to like Disney World in Florida or something. You know, it's
I will say the whole time. I was saying the whole time. Oh, they're gonna mirror the first episode with the David going cyber psycho and like murdering people, right? And they do the probably way more effective mirror of like his daily walk
Yes.
Instead of
him walking through Night City in the last episode is...
That was great.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Like, say it as many times as it needs to be said. And Maishi understands, like, the power of repetition.
Yeah.
These guys get it done.
But I do want to shout out some other highlights from earlier in the episode, earlier in the series that we didn't get around to due to the way we've kind of scheduled our podcasts. Mm-hmm. I think we have to talk about the Kai Igarashi episode.
Yeah.
Which is the one where we get where Main dies, but we also get a little bit of his backstory.
Yeah,
and
great stuff.
I think it's just again, like all these motherfuckers at Trigger, man. They just they have their hand on the wheel so confidently, and the way. Because this is a show that understands it only has 10 episodes, right? We don't have time for a long main backstory explainer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we just show him as a young man before he's cybered up, running to the literal barrier of the video game.
Yes, I really loved how the metaphorical point of no return of cyberpsychosis is represented as the video game's actual point of no return, invisible wall for getting out of Night City. Because when I played that game and once I was able to drive and I was out in the desert, I was I'm just going to drive until the game tells me to not do it, and then go do what I was going to do because I can. You know?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a small point here, but the way they actually did incorporate the game tie-ins, were pretty neat.
Really well done. Yeah. And I really do love that main episode because I feel like that kind of serves as the in a lot of ways it is the jumping point for the rest of the series, right?
Yeah.
Everything Main does in that episode and how that imprints on David reflects every choice David makes for the rest of the show, right?
Yeah, because what was that episode 5 or 6? It was in the middle, right?
Think?
Or towards
6, I believe.
Okay. So actually getting a little into the back half, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like before that, I was like, all right, this show is fun. And then after that, I feel like they were kind of taking it into it was like, all right, but where are we going with this? And it's like, oh, okay, this is where we're going with this.
Yeah, right.
From that point on. And
I do kind of love it, right? Because it's it's in a lot of ways, like thematically, right? It is the jumping point for, okay, this is going to be the rest of the story, right?
Yeah.
But also, I do love that, for David, his feelings of inadequacy and inability to help Main in that moment is likely what motivates him to cyber the fuck up as much as he does for the rest of the show, right?
Yeah.
Is that he is sick and tired of being the helpless kid, right? Here he is watching his second surrogate parent die in front of him, and that is what motivates him to, for better or worse, mostly for worse, live the life he does for the rest of that show. It's a really striking, bit of character development, told in a really efficient, tight 22 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really good. If we have to, all right, here's my final question. If we have to pick this or Akudama Drive as the premier cyberpunk anime of the 2020s here.
That's a little tough because here's the thing, right? I think, look, as much as I love Edgerunners, I think if we're talking purely about its ideology and it's what it wants to say, I think Akudama Drive is the more sophisticated cyberpunk story.
Yeah,
I think it has.
They're more. Akudama Drive is more specific in what they're saying.
Yes,
I feel like it's a very specific. It's a much more specific, pointed message.
Yeah, and so for that reason, I think that Akudama Drive maybe has the harder hitting story, or at least a harder hitting message.
Yeah,
but I think Edgerunners is the kind of show that is willing to trade that away in exchange for character moments, right? For the emotionality of the storytelling.
Right.
Yeah, there's definitely much more personal emotional storytelling in Cyberpunk. Yeah,
I like the cast of Edgerunners so much. I think the cast of Akudama Drive were fun, but they kind of mostly served as sort of one note ciphers, right? They were meant to represent an idea or a concept.
Yeah.
Whereas I fucking love the Edgerunners crew, man. I was legitimately invested in Lucy and David's relationship by the end, I think that, like many people on the internet, that Rebecca is the best character in the show. That poor Rebecca. She really deserved better than
ride or die Rebecca.
But here's this little blue gremlin who knows she's going on a suicide mission for her crush, who doesn't even remotely reciprocate the feelings.
Yep.
And she's still fucking lock and load, motherfuckers. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Yes. Man.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're both great. I don't want to,
yeah.
That's why it's an interesting question and they both have their strong points for sure. But,
man. Yeah. Also, you know what? Hey, shout outs to Falco.
Yeah.
The driver.
Yes.
I really did not think you, of all the characters in this cast, would be one of the last survivors.
Yeah. It was a very close call.
Just the getaway driver somehow gets away. So
Yep.
Yeah. He was all right. Yeah. So, watch both those shows.
Well, yeah, great shows.
Yeah, and, fantastic.
I think we're all on tape of being like, I don't know about this one, guys.
Yeah, no, I think I'll own up to that.
Yeah.
I think I legitimately was ready to approach Edgerunners as purely visual spectacle, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was willing to go into this being well, I bet it'll look good, and
I think that's what we all said. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it'll look good.
Let Sugar make their money for their next original project.
Yeah. Right.
And, but I in retrospect, the setting really works well for Maishi, right? It's
I think so. Yeah,
the sex and violence at Mach speed is that's fits this perfect. So, but I think the unexpected thing is how much more they brought to the table, which was
right
what takes it to the next level. So
yes,
all right, watch that, and let's keep moving. We'll talk about our other regularly scheduled anime. Spy Family, I don't know if we have a whole lot to say at this point.
It's good. It's doing
it's good.
Other than the one joke I made about the Twitter situation kind of being what's the kid's
George
name?
Glooman.
Yeah, George literally named Gloomaman, who thinks he's getting expelled from school and then finds out he is not getting expelled from school.
George Glooman was caught in a freak medical accident and became Glue Man.
That is what it sounds
like.
I
mean, I think the only thing to really say about that episode is it's a good show because it understands what kids do when they're wrangling with concepts they don't really fully understand.
Yeah. That is something I love in general. Is while the kids definitely can act very precocious and well beyond their years, they always bring them back down to earth to remind you that, these are 6-year-olds at some point.
Don't understand what's happening.
Yeah. So they always rein them back in eventually. Yeah.
Yeah. The kids sort of doing their weird, we're all going to pitch in to make George feel like the number one boy. And we're going to sing, and Desmond's going to do a little dance number. And I think the reason why the joke works, right, is specifically because Anya doesn't buy in, right?
True.
She has that look on her face the whole time. She's like, what the hell are you doing?
Like Anya, who is not a part of this rich elite society, who doesn't understand the idea of my father's business could get bought out. So she is just utterly
what are you
she's just got that look, right? She's just man, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very good. But yeah, I mean, us not having anything to say doesn't mean it's bad. It's just we're in this. We're in this.
Yep. I will say.
I mean, shout outs to the original Your bit, I guess.
Oh yeah, there was that whole segment where Yours like, oh no, Anya's forgot her gym clothes. I got to bring him to school. I believe that's anime original. That whole short.
I believe so.
They needed to inject more Your screen time.
Doing sick parkour,
which is totally fine because, like, honestly, like Your kind of gets the short end of the stick during this specific stretch of episodes. Like, she doesn't really feature strongly into any of the chapters. Yeah. So if somebody on the anime studio side of things is like, fuck that, we want more Your, like, who are we to stop them?
I'll say my morning walk route, there's a car that I walk past that has a Hinata from Naruto bumper sticker, and I'm going to say about 1 week ago, in addition to the Hinata from Naruto sticker, there's a sticker of Yor from Spy Family in a bunny suit.
Just really into really into anime moms.
And I thought that was funny to just like see that appear one day. Right?
He's a man, a true man of culture. Into the anime moms, but yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about Mob Psycho 100. I did start watching this.
Okay.
I think I'm on. I think I only made it to episode 3 or 4.
Okay.
So that's sort of the beginning of the like cult stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And I got to admit, I'm kind of bored out of my mind. Like, it's good. Don't get me wrong. It's fine. But like, I'm like, and I'll keep at it because I have a feeling it'll pick up eventually. But I feel like maybe they're taking a little while to find something to do with themselves. That's not the same thing that we've been doing for 2 whole seasons.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's about as far as I've gotten. But you guys are much further, so I don't know how you guys are.
Yeah, the conclusion of that arc, I think, is pretty solid.
Here's the spoiler: they carted out Utapon.
Okay, I figured
it's bones.
You know,
yes.
Once we hit 100%, right? That's when you bring in.
When he hits 100% is a really incredible punchline, I think.
Okay.
And also a good swerve too. Yep. Actually.
Yeah. Again, like it's been so long between seasons, and I think I brought this up when we watched it. Like, it's been so long between seasons, so we tend to forget. But like early on, it was, Mobile 100%. He's super pissed, and he's 100%. He's gonna beat up everybody. But like even as early as like season 2, when he was hitting 100%, or like it wasn't just Bob's at 100%. He's going nuts. They would keep doing something different with it,
right?
And because it's been quite a while, like I think it's easy to forget that, and so it does it again. Like he hits 100%, and it's not necessarily what you think.
Okay, yeah, because I'm thinking it's he goes sicko mode and
right,
and that's but the thing is that like the thing that's so good about Mob Psycho is like it still finds a way for someone to go sicko mode.
Yes,
and it feels like in character and right for where the story is at this specific like juncture.
Yeah.
That feels good actually. Like again, I don't, I think we'll try to keep it like vague just to, not spoil the surprise, but like the core of this arc that just concluded is very much about Mob and his relationship with Dimple, right? The little green,
right.
Anime Slimer man, right?
Yeah.
And sort of what they mean to each other, right? Like, like to Mob, Dimple is a very honest friend, right?
Yeah.
Like brutally honest sometimes. And the thing is that like sometimes we need that in our lives, right? Like because maybe other people in our life will coddle us, or they will entertain our worst habits, right? But sometimes you need a dude in your life like Dimple who's just like, that's stupid.
Right.
What the fuck are you doing, man?
and vice versa, of course. Like Dimple, the ever unscrupulous little grimy swindler, ghost man, needs someone like as cheesy as it is, needs someone who just believes in him like Mob does, right?
Yeah.
Like you can call it naivete, you can call it innocence, but the point is, like, Mob does consider Dimple a friend and treats him like one, and it turns out that for all of his like bluster, Dimple values that a lot more than he lets on.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not I don't even know if this would be a spoiler, but just the final fight of this arc is maybe, other than I think the big ghost fight halfway through season 2, against the guy who's possessing the girl.
Right.
I think this might be other than that, I think this might be the hardest Bones has gone since on Mob Psycho.
Oh, okay.
Like, but it is still undeniably Mob Psycho because you go, God damn, this is the hardest fucking shit I've ever seen animated. But also, if I take even 1 second to step back, this is the silliest fucking premise for a fight I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's super dumb.
All right.
But it works, and it gets you emotionally invested. Like, I was legitimately, like, I was emotionally all in on the conclusion of the Mob Dimple arc of season 3. They sell it, and they manage to stick the landing in a really good way. I came away from it really, really happy how they handled it.
All right. That gives me motivation to get back on there. But so are we in the next arc now then?
Yeah.
We've begun the next bit.
Yeah.
Which seems to have somewhat lower stakes, which I'm fine with.
Well, the interesting thing is that the newest arc brings up a question I had never really thought to ask about the Mob Psycho universe.
That is true, yeah.
And basically, we are returning back to the UFO club.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the UFO girl, and basically we're going to take it seriously for once. It took 3 seasons.
Right.
But we are going to finally going to try to look for some aliens. And the question finally hit me. Oh, right. Mob Psycho has like ghosts and spirits and espers and psychics, but has Mob Psycho ever actually confirmed if aliens exist or not?
Good question.
And is Mob Psycho one of those types of settings? So,
right.
I guess we'll find out with this arc.
Yeah.
Is Mob Psycho gonna go the same route of escalation as Dragon Ball Z? And what left could Mob possibly fight? He's defeated all of the strongest mortal opponents on Earth.
Mob might be the most powerful psychic on Earth.
Right, all that's left is to fight an alien.
Right.
Yeah, Rabbit shows up and says, "I'm your brother."
Yeah, basically.
Oh, he already has a brother, though, right? So,
yeah. Look, that's not important.
All right. So, yeah, I think now that I've finished Cyberpunk, I'll have more time to get back on that. So, I'll have to catch up. All right. Let's talk about Pop Team Epic. And this is our first casualty of this episode because we are recording a day earlier than usual on Saturday. And
yes.
I am sad that you guys did not watch today's episode.
I'm merely still thinking about Hellshake Yano instead of whatever else is today.
Just thinking about Hellshake Yano.
Yeah, my stat is thinking about Hellshake Yano.
Yeah, I'll admit, I think I enjoyed that episode more just from the sheer balls they have to do an entire episode of 2 grown men in a lab coat playing with giant flip books. Which they did, I think, they did in the first season.
Guys, you need to understand.
Right? But like, go ahead.
I was watching that episode during the worst of my fever.
That's right.
I had the chills. I literally wrapped a blanket around me. It wasn't good enough. My brain was like self-disassociating from its body. And that's the episode of Pop Team Epic I decided to watch. And let me tell you, I felt I literally felt like my soul was leaving my body as I watched it.
Oh man.
You're not really sure if this was real or you're hallucinating from the chills.
Yeah, basically.
Excellent.
So I mean, it's fun. The actual content is incredibly like nonsensical.
I mean, the problem is that like the B-side wasn't that like because of the nature of the production.
Yeah,
there wasn't much to the B-side.
Yeah. So, but people are always thinking about Hellshake Yano. So
yeah, indeed.
This week's episode.
Is there any way you could describe this without spoiling us?
Well, the actual title of the episode is Pop Team Epic Battle Royale.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay.
And so I don't think it's a spoiler to say that they do Battle Royale.
All right.
They basically play Apex Legends.
Nice.
And
you mean
but they're like
Apex Legends.
but they're actually like in the game, right? They're not playing Apex. They're actually like on the field shooting each other. And they're not subtle about it. It's like all the items and everything
Apex
they're
is
using
huge
are
in Japan.
Well, yeah, because of all the battle royales, Apex is the most popular in Japan.
And
didn't get the Soccer Wars collab though, unlike PUBG.
No, but they are actually. I should keep my mouth shut. I know things down the pipeline. I know events down the pipeline in Apex Legends that.
Oh no, we're gonna get legal action.
But I'll keep it at that for now.
Yeah. So I won't spoil the actual jokes, although I did post one screenshot in the chat.
I don't know if I even wanted to click on that.
Which is not really a spoiler. It's just a shout out to the localization team for dropping in the you cheated not only the game but yourself.
Oh, okay. God. I see now.
I feel like with Pop Team Epic, I can't even tell. Is that a localization,
right.
or did the writers actually put that in?
Yeah, who knows, right? I don't know how well that translated over to Japanese Twitter, right? But it's very good and very dark. The ending of that.
Sure. Okay. We'll look forward to it.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. And they had a couple other. This was more of a mixed. It wasn't like just one segment. I do feel like, is it just me in season 2? Are most of the segments longer now?
It does feel like they're going for bigger swings this season compared to last.
Where you'll have like a 5 or 6 minute thing, and then like maybe a couple, or let's say 5 to even maybe 10. Well, the Hellshake Yano one, it was the entire episode, which is
that was the entire thing, yeah.
But yeah, I feel like there's like one really long segment, and they'll throw in like a couple of small ones. Where I feel like in season 1, it was more just like a lot of small ones, but maybe that's just my.
I think in a lot of ways that might actually reflect like Pop Team Epic's own weird like rising star in anime, because like my understanding is that like the reason they've been able to get so many of these like high profile collaborations is because it turns out that animators, like all artists, are shit posters at heart.
Yes.
Right.
And
they just want to do something dumb.
Yeah, artists just kind of like doing like dumb shit for fun with no like major like restrictions.
Right.
So
so it just attracts them all.
Yeah, it's just like I'll do 5 minutes of like my like weird like Evangelion adjacent train battle segment. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
We'll get Obari back for like 6 minutes.
Yeah. So it was a fun episode. It was one of my favorites personally so far. So everybody get on that.
Well,
all right.
Speaking of surprisingly dark.
Yes, surprisingly dark, and
oh baby,
some good episodes here. Let's talk about Akiba Maid War.
Majima is here.
Yo, these last 2 episodes were crazy.
So,
what the hell?
So I think I've finally come to an understanding of how I feel about the show, and in a way that I can put into words.
Okay.
Because the past couple episodes of the podcast, I mean, I feel like I haven't been able to fully explain the kind of up and down feeling, because this is not a perfect show. There are stretches I have not really enjoyed. I think when they are fully committed to being 110% deadly serious, the show is great.
Yeah.
Because that, and not because I'm like getting into the drama and the emotional aspects of it, but because I feel like that amplifies the joke to its highest level.
Right. Yes,
like,
I definitely get what you mean.
Whereas when they actually are doing like wacky comedy stuff, I feel like that's when it's been the most flat. Like the training episode, for example. Like I felt like that was more like intentionally wacky. But these two episodes are 110% deadly serious.
Yeah, it's wild how hard they commit to the bit.
When known to me is where's just like, no, I'm a maid. I'm definitely a maid now.
Yes.
Where I'm not. Maybe I'm just this, but I'm a maid.
But yeah, no, they pull out all kinds of like classic, the sworn sisterhood. And I mean, we all knew what was her name, Narula, was it?
Yeah,
Narula,
something like that. We all knew she was gonna die at some point, right? Like,
oh yeah,
that was a foregone conclusion, and they made the best use of that.
Sworn sisterhood.
And Ira, you alluded to that's the other thing. I've kind of avoided comparing this to the Yakuza games because I feel like that's just too easy. But
I couldn't help myself when like you're crazy.
The parallel between
bat. I'm just
the parallel between like Ranko as Kiryu and what was her name? Monami as the
Crimson
Majima
Supernova.
The Crimson Supernova appearing in these two episodes.
Bat. I mean, it's
the parallels were there, right?
I will say, like, I maybe bought too heavily into the parallels and ended up being slightly disappointed that Ranko and Manami didn't actually get that much time squaring off against each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even in the final raid on, the Oinky Doinky Cafe, like...
Just saying that is hilarious.
Yeah, right. Like I had to pause and be like, wait, am I gonna say this out loud?
I actually gotta say these words. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Ranko doesn't even like really fight Manami in that battle, so it really is mostly a Nagomi joint.
Nagonin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nagonin. Yes. Nin.
And like
nin.
The bit with her just now she's a ninja was like with like not just because she went to work at a ninja cafe, but she now has the prerequisite skills to be a ninja.
Like throws kunai and shit. Yeah,
straight with what is it, the Degozaru or whatever?
Degozaru,
yeah. Just coming out of nowhere was just a brilliant choice. I think
that was. Yeah, I mean, like even within the context of like this show taking itself like deadly serious, it's like it kind of works as like a big character development moment for Nagomi, right? Like she is, like with these two episodes, she has found her convictions as a maid, right? She has realized she has literally found her maid way, right? Yes. Like this is how I will be a maid, in Akiba, right? Like these are the principles by which I will carry myself out. And it's like, all right, this works.
Yeah, I'm always a sucker for when like the wishy-washy main character finally like gets their act together and like steps up. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's
one really dumb incidental gag where it's like they're fighting the raid. They're fighting like, the aliens are here to raid Oinky Doink and... They're fighting them all off, right? And you get to like color filtered like punches or whatever.
Yes.
And when Nagomi does hers, like it does like triple cut, and then it does like 3 more times really fast.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was silly.
Yeah. And there's some like solid gold like dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like I think I had posted in our chat 2 of the screenshots with the maid alien boss being like, "It's time for you to become a Stardust memory."
Stardust memory.
God, what a highly specific phrasing, right?
Because all the maids always talking like, no matter how like deadly serious the situation is, they still talk in their appropriate puns, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the episode literally, culminating in Nagomi shouting "Moe Moe Kyun" at
Yes. Because
at
I'm a
Monomi, right?
That's what made
Yes.
you, I guess.
Yes, with the heart gesture and everything.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that was always the best joke, like with the ED, right?
Yes.
It's kind of the same.
Yeah, it's that juxtaposition.
Yeah, it's that same joke, just taken to the highest level they can take it. But
man, I gotta ask though, if Nagomi was able to become this good of a ninja in 1 week
that quickly, yeah.
Why the hell aren't the ninjas running Akiba, huh? Like,
that's a good question.
I mean, these maids are pretty strong. Don't get me wrong, but these ninjas seem quite powerful.
Yeah. Well, we've got a couple episodes left, and the main antagonists are off the board.
Yeah, is it time for all the we've got ninjas? Is it time for the other themed maid cafes to show up? Are the night maids gonna show up? Or the
I think that's a thing, right? Is
pirate maids or whatever.
It's I feel like the ninjas weren't even necessarily maids, right? It was just purely the ninja gimmick.
Yeah,
and it's
what other gimmicks?
Okay, wait. Okay, all right. Galaxy Brain has activated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Maid War, right? The Maid War, that is the primary focus of Akiba Maid War.
Yes.
Which is sort of meant to be a parallel to Yakuza fiction and drama, right?
Yeah.
And so if we are to then use the analogy of maids equal Yakuza, and thus the war between the alien group and Creature Land as a a Yakuza on Yakuza conflict.
Right.
Like two different families, right? Something
Would
like that.
the introduction of non-maid factions like the ninjas be the equivalent of a different ethnic gang being introduced?
The Jingwon Mafia or the Triads.
Koreans coming in, or the Triads, right?
Yeah, the Koreans or the Triads, or even the Russian Mafia or something.
CIA is here.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that could parallel that.
You can even get all the good Yakuza tropes of they don't even understand our ways, they don't fight the way we fight, and all that shit.
The ninjas, we've got the ninjas, but now the cowboys are gonna show up.
Well, see, so my thing is is this all gonna end with okay, so this is just a theory I'm throwing out here. So Nagomi has chosen that she's going to live her life as a maid in the way that we often think of a maid cafe maid, as someone who doesn't kill people.
Sure.
And just wants to, say moe moe kyun and, put ketchup on your omurice, right?
Yeah.
This story is taking place in 1999.
Yes.
Right.
Is this going to end in the present day, 20 plus years later, with
okay,
our maid cafes as we know them today, and but they're telling stories of their of their mothers and maybe even grandmothers that fought it out so that we could have
Nagomi is going to be as old as Ranko. She'll remember the dangerous days of
yes, and
of the Heisei era.
And they'll be reminiscing on the Maid Wars of the 90s,
of
and now it's
the Heisei Maid Wars,
and now it's all cleaned up, and
you're just gonna have some 50-year-old maid with an eye patch, pouring out a cup of sake, being you kids don't get
Black
it.
Lagoon,
back in the day. Being a maid meant something,
My sisters died for you, so you guys could
maids these days, they're just. I mean, okay, here's the part where I am literally copying a line read from the Yakuza games. Maids these days, they're just in it, for the flashy clothes and the attention. But back in the day, wearing this dress meant something.
Moe Kyun meant something.
Yeah. I mean, they've already had a little bit of that even currently, right? But I'm just is this supposed to be the origin story of maids as we know them in 2022? But yeah,
God.
Anyway, that show's fun. I hope they stick to that tone, because that's what I like the show the best.
Yeah, because Monomi, honestly left the story a lot faster than I thought she would.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious what what the driving conflict will be from here on out, other than like,
well, I can just bring in more problematic waifus.
I mean, I guess it feels like the Creature Land group, like the conglomerate as a whole, maybe has their sights set on taking out the Oinky Doink Cafe for good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they still have not suffered the consequences for their many crimes against the creature.
No, not yet.
So we'll see. But yeah. Good times. All right. Let's move on to talk about Bocchi the Rock.
Yeah.
Which has gone from, well, it's just straight black comedy now, I think, at this point. Like, they're not pulling
crazy
any punches.
I didn't see today's, but
yeah, well, the first episode of the block would have been the when she meets the alcoholic bass player.
Yeah, wow.
And talk about pulling.
Yeah, there's
punches.
being pointed, and then there's like stabbing you in the throat and watching you bleed out. Holy shit!
We have to laugh from crying.
Honestly, I thought it was hilarious, but in a way of, haha, this is way too close to home.
Yeah, no, I mean, so we might as well just set the scene, right? So this week it continues the arc of Bocchi has to get 5 people to buy tickets for the concert, right? And of course, the initial joke was, well, I got to find one more because I'll sell one to my mom, my dad, my sister, and the dog, right? And of course, reality sets in, and Bocchi's mom was like, a dog can't buy a ticket, and your sister's underage, right?
Yeah.
So she's off to find more people to buy tickets, and meets I forget her name, but just as we've gone to call her, the alcoholic bassist, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's an adult in another band, and she's like
plays her bass with the shamisen bachi.
Yeah, and pounding sake juice boxes.
Oh, Jesus Christ,
man!
That's some high level alcoholism.
That's a vibe. I mean, like because I'm gonna be real, all right. Like the lowest tier of sake I've ever seen is like the cup sake, right, in the plastic jars, right, and okay, see, here's the thing. To bring back the Yakuza comparisons, that's what Ichiban drank when he was homeless.
That's like,
all right.
No, that's like, right. No, when Ichiban finally gets like the cheapest home possible, like their celebration sake is like the little glass cup, one serving.
Yeah, right. Like that is up to now what I had assumed was as low as you could go. Mm-hmm. I was not aware you could go as low as fucking Capri Sun. Like. That's some next level.
Oh man.
Maybe this is just the way my brain has worked in the past. Well, it's like the part that really got me was towards the end of the episode where she's like, I'll buy the ticket, 1,500 yen. That's just five juice boxes, so it's fine. And it's like the level of alcoholism you have to be into, the depths you have to get to start measuring your money in alcohol.
Yeah.
Like, is
right.
That really got me. That was really funny.
Like, I will say credit where it's due, right? It's like, the character is clearly meant to be comedic, right? She's clearly played off as a joke, but like, there is like a real
specificity.
There's a real sting of specificity to what drives her to drink, and like breaking down that it is like, just the general malaise of adulthood, right? Like, and like the very specific problems of being a young adult, at least in the current version of, or in current day Japan, with the very specific like cultural and societal pressures of being an adult in Japan. It's like,
which they literally have a screenshot where they list all of them on the screen.
Right. Yeah. It's like I think there's some options. It's like
pension problems, rural depopulation.
Yeah. Pension crisis, rural depopulation.
Years of the future.
Like it's like, kidding. People are driven to some degrees of
I mean, that's
abuse,
the hard hitting part of it. It's not that
Right.
it's not like haha funny alcoholic. It's like, well, why has she been driven to the drink,
Yes.
right?
But,
So
and then
but
we get
it also
yeah, go ahead.
But I think it also still works because, like, in a lot of ways, is this the first adult figure Bocchi has met outside of her family or like people her friends know?
I think
right?
so.
And so it's like there is that really fun dynamic of like, yes, this alcoholic bassist is an unrepentant drunk, but also she carries with her these sort of
Some
like
wisdom,
nonchalance and like experience, and maybe just even just the lack of shame that adulthood brings with it, right?
yeah.
Like yeah, chill out, kid. Like you know, it's just a street concert. We're just gonna play. You know, we're just gonna play some tunes on the street, like whatever. Like even if we play badly, everyone's gonna forget us by like in
and
10
I'm
minutes.
so drunk that I'll forget.
Yeah, exactly. You know?
Right.
And I do think in some regards, right, that is a good message to like impart on Bocchi, right?
Right.
Yes. The sequence where she's like, "Oh, Bocchi, I bet you're gonna love drinking, Bocchi," and Bocchi has her hellish flash forward to like that one
is what got me. That one,
it's like having my hands reach out of the screen and snap my neck. Ugh.
Yeah, that one felt super bad to watch.
I feel like the things that the author brings into this show are so real that I feel like there's no way they have not experienced these things.
Yes.
Like it sounds like it's all coming from experience, right? So
yeah.
I mean, the one for me, I think, was the specific detail of like where Bocchi was like, "Mom stopped bothering me, like stop nagging me to go to the hell of work. Now that my younger sister is having kids."
Yeah.
And it's like, it's that highly specific, like as an older sibling who has implicitly failed compared to their younger sibling. And it's like, oh shit. No, don't want that.
Yeah. Really hitting hard. Yeah, so that was a good episode. I know you guys didn't see today's episode. I'm gonna post a screenshot in the chat here for you to see.
Live radio, folks.
Sure.
Yeah. For the listeners,
Bocchi
it is a picture.
Joined Team Star. Fuck.
It is a picture of Bocchi with light up star sunglasses and a mustache and a party hat.
She's joined Team Star. I gotta take her down.
Is this the cooler Bocchi we've heard so much about?
Yeah, the cooler Bocchi. No, the general concept is 2 of the girls from the band are coming over to her house, and this is like the first time she's ever had friends at her house.
Yeah.
And she gets a little too... She overthinks the planning of it, let's say.
Sure.
Which she doesn't realize until they arrive, and she's like, oh, I went too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Her family proceeds to roast her.
Yep.
I think Aqua said it's just Bocchi getting murdered. At one point, literally murdered for 22 straight minutes. They do the joke where everybody dies and then they just go to the next scene and don't explain anything.
Yep, good. Always
I love that the there is a certain surreal quality to the show that they like to play around with.
Yeah.
More so, I think, than your average comedy of this type. Or even like a self-awareness. There's one part what I'm assuming was the commercial break in the episode. There's no like proper bump, so it's kind of hard to say on watching it like on Crunchyroll, but
yeah.
They you can kind of tell it's probably where they inserted the commercial, and then when they come back, one of the girls is like, it was in the middle of one of Bocchi's like imagination sequences, and she's like, "Oh wow, that time Bocchi time lasted the whole like commercial break or whatever," because she was spacing out for you know, as if just the self awareness.
3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So, but yeah, it was a good episode. A lot of secondhand embarrassment in this one.
Oh yeah.
Oh good.
which is, any episode of Bocchi the Rock.
Yep.
But still pretty good. So, all right.
Gosh.
Let's talk about Chainsaw Man.
Hey, Chainsaw Man, the most anticipated anime of all time.
Okay, so we spent a lot of time trashing Chainsaw Man last episode.
I think
I don't necessarily
still holds true.
Yeah, I don't want to go back and rehash everything we said last time, which I think for the most part holds up. I think we all agree these 2 episodes were probably a slight improvement.
I think so.
Yeah.
For me, I think so. I'll try to say some somewhat positive things here. I'm trying my best, guys. I'm trying my best.
Don't hurt yourself.
Do your best.
With the introduction of more of the cast, I can kind of see, like, I do like their general group dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, things like, Denji and Power kind of being like the equivalent of, I feel like, hiring 2 teenagers to work at a convenience store, like that kind of energy, or like, just like, I can see like elements there that I really like. And sometimes they pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
I just think for the most part, it's still being presented in a very flat, boring sort of way.
Again.
So these 2 episodes, the general idea being they go to hunt down a demon and they get trapped on a hotel floor, right? So it's a closed. It's I forget what not quite a bottle episode,
closed
but
circle.
kind of in that neighborhood, right? And I do feel like I was right on the verge of just being like, God, just get on with it. Like, I feel like they should have fit in the fight at the end that they leave as the cliffhanger at the end of the 2nd episode.
Yeah.
I feel like there had to be some way that they could have fit that in there. I don't know, something to kind of speed it up, move it along a little bit.
I definitely think that, like,
and now we're dragging this arc into 3 episodes now. Right. That's a lot of screen time.
The reality is, like, the way the show is currently paced and shot, it just still feels too sluggish for the types of jokes that Chainsaw Man has. And I think the reason why I felt better towards episode 6, which is the latest episode, is because, at least to me, it is the first episode of Chainsaw Man that feels like it gets anime comedic timing a little bit better. Like, there's that great bit where, or at least it's a fantastic bit in the manga. It's a solid bit in the anime, where Himeno wakes up Denji, right? Because now that they find out they're locked in, like, an eternally looping 8th floor of a hotel, Denji's like, I'm gonna get some sleep, and it's like, yeah, big mood. If I was also locked in a an eternally looping dimension, maybe I would use that time to catch up on some sleep, But Himeno wakes up Denji and is like, "Hey, all right, look, I gotta be real with you. The situation's not good, right? Like, Aki's just pacing through the floors, the hallway endlessly. Arai and Himeno are fucking losing it. Himeno tried to drink toilet water. I had to knock her out."
Oh, you mean Kobeni?
Sorry, Kobeni. Yes, Kobeni is losing it.
Which that seems to be her thing, regardless. But yes.
Himeno is the one who's trying to keep it together. And there's the good, and the reason why I'm breaking this down so, like, laboriously is to explain why I feel like this is the one time where they got the pacing right. Is like, Himeno is like, and then Power is, and then it hard cuts to her, like, just lying on the bed saying, "I'm going to get the Nobel Prize."
Yes. My strategy
and become the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And it's like the one time in the Chainsaw Man anime where they get the comedic pacing right? Yeah. Like, I feel like every other time they've told a joke like this in the anime, they would have done, like, some slow pan over or done some, like, fancy camera trick. You don't need that. Hard cuts are fine. In fact, hard cuts are preferable.
Less frames are funny.
Yes, when you're telling those types of jokes, right? Or it's even later in the episode where, Arai is looking in the room and it's like, "Oh God, who ate all the food?" And you already know who ate all the food. And so the anime doesn't linger on it, right? Like, it just instantly cuts to Power, crumbs on her mouth, just saying,
it was
Denji did it.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like...
Yeah, it didn't feel weird like that other last time we were talking about the scene where Power moves in. Like, that felt so weird, like they did not know what they were doing, and this felt more like an appropriately spaced out type of deal. Yeah. No, I agree.
It bothers me because, again, I wouldn't even necessarily say episode 6 is amazing, but it offers a glimpse into like how like genuinely solid this anime could be, despite the things that can't be changed, right? Like the directing and the shot composition and all that stuff, right? Like, even if that stuff can't be changed, even just changing the timing of like the delivery of dialogue, could do so much for the Chainsaw Man anime.
Yeah.
And credit where it's due. I think that, like, and this is the thing that bothers me, I think, about this director is, like, he does do the slow bits fairly well. I did like how he handled the Himeno Aki flashback, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it's good foreshadowing. It sets up why these two care about each other so much, right? Like, Himeno clearly has a lot of unspoken trauma about losing partners in this line of work. She really cares a lot about Aki, And so that sets up when Aki, sacrifices himself to take Kobeni's knife for Denji.
Right, and like that's Himeno, who has been pretty even keeled the whole time. Like, she starts to lose it there. Right?
She finally loses it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it helps you understand, oh, okay, these are all people, right? And they each have their own different breaking point, right? Like, yes, Kobeni's breaking point is comically easy to hit, whereas Himeno can keep it together slightly better, but at the end of the day, right?
And then, like, we have the bit where they flash back or whatever, and they say, like, the really strong devil hunters are the ones who are a little bit crazy in the head. And so, like, of course, by the end of that episode, everyone's losing it except for Denji and Power. Right.
Right. Because they are already kind of crazy.
Yes. And so, like, all right, let's do our ridiculous plan. Let's go.
No, you go ahead.
It's insane to me that episode, Denji jumps into the mouths. We get the whole cool looking sequence, and then, it cuts to credits. I cannot believe they just ended on credits and did not end on a chainsaw revving sound.
Right? It's such an easy layup.
Yeah, like, the whole thing, he's like, oh, it's on now. I'm going to cut this guy up and jump in. Like, end on the and then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. It's stuff like that makes me go, like,
right.
You don't fucking get it.
And the problem is that, like, we say stuff like that, and I know that maybe to some listeners it sounds like we are, like, nitpicking Chainsaw Man to death, but the reality is, I think all of our issues with Chainsaw Man is a death by 1,000 cuts, right? Like, there is no, like, I think, again, taken in aggregate, this is a well-made anime. It's just that, like, it is so easy to point out the million things that, like, it just constantly, like, falls short of.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. It's constant. Like, they might be small things, but there's always something, like, in practically every scene where you're like, all right. But yeah, I do see what people like, though. I can see it in there, and it just, like, if we could just, I don't know, if there was some way to present it better.
There is a way. There is a way, Joe. It's called reading the manga.
Yes.
We'll read the manga when
at
some point soon.
Yeah. I will also say just brief shout outs to Kobeni suffering the most Kobeni possible fate.
Oh, yes.
Which is being completely upstaged this season by two even more funny, more compelling girls with mental illness.
Yeah. The
Suleta and Bocchi.
Yes, as far as the high anxiety it's
barely functional mess.
she has been upstaged by Bocchi and Suletta this season for sure.
Which is extremely funny to me. But here's the thing: as somebody who knows where all the wonderful places Kobeni goes,
Sure,
it makes me love her even more. That she can't even win at the one thing she's famous for.
Yeah.
Well.
All right. Well, I'll keep trucking through it here. So.
Well, I mean, yeah. Speaking of Suletta, or not really.
Okay. Yeah. So. Unfortunately, our other major casualty this episode, since we're recording a day early, is we have not seen Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch from Mercury because we have not.
That's usually the morning of recording day.
Yeah, first of all, last week there was no episode, right?
Oh wait, guys, I gotta get out here and say something because this is a brief correction.
Okay.
So remember how everybody everybody speculated, oh, right, like they're skipping this week because of production issues. Hope everything's okay. So it turns out the real reason...
Like
what?
Golf. Go ahead. Sorry.
Man, you took it from me. But yes, the real reason why G-Witch didn't air last weekend is because they televised a golf tournament.
Sorry. Sorry. That was just my guess because Sentai in Kamen Rider get canceled for golf fairly often.
Okay, yes.
Sorry. So... I didn't mean to spoil. I didn't know.
You didn't actually know.
Guessing. No, I didn't.
Oh, you were guessing.
I was guessing because that's what happens to Rider and Sentai.
Okay, but yes, it was golf. Birdie Wing
G-Witch
last
Birdie
week.
Wing is out here getting it done. Saying, don't you forget about me. Bring my rainbow bullet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Birdie Wing is practically Gundam anyway, right? Literally has Amuro Ray in it.
And Charizard.
We can't talk about Birdie Wing. Yeah, so there was no episode last week, and obviously we're recording before this week's episode airs, so no Gundam talk this time unless, G, you have any further theories you want to put out.
All we could do is speculate, I guess. I mean, the title of the next episode is Shall We Gundam?
Which is, yes, fantastic.
I think during the recap episode, thing where it was commentated by the VAs for Suletta and Myorin.
Okay.
I think they alluded to the next episode being a school dance or something.
Yeah, that's what that implies, right?
Is extremely funny.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
So they actually did do a recap because I don't think they put that on Crunchyroll.
No, I don't think they bothered because I think it was literally just a televised, just like we're gonna talk over like a live stream. Of,
I mean, sometimes they do that if there's sometimes they'll do that if there is like commentary or something. But I guess yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I could go on for like another 30 minutes about the aerial stuff, but let's save that.
I guess Kochi wrote Giant Robots making a pizza. Like, what's Giant Robots dancing? That's just mundane in comparison.
Yeah,
no, I don't think they're implying the Gundams are dancing.
No, that's what
it would be funny.
That's what I'm gonna ask. Like, are they actually gonna have the students in their robots dancing in the robots?
I wish.
I mean, would that? I don't feel like that's impossible. If maybe unlikely, but maybe.
I don't know, guys. What's Guel gonna do? He doesn't have a robot anymore.
Well, he's gonna be out of luck, I guess. But yeah.
Who wants to date somebody who's been kicked out of Guel House?
I will say, I did briefly entertain myself with the mental image of, wouldn't it be really funny if like Guel just kept stealing other people's mobile suits for the rest of the show?
Oh man.
Because he doesn't have his own, so he's just like sneaking into people's hangars and jacking their robot.
Or are they gonna like when he inevitably joins the Earth group, are they gonna like put together one out of scrap for him or something?
That would be pretty good. Just
yeah. I mean, he's got to get back into a suit somehow, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, more Gundam next time. And yeah, that's going to do it for this episode then. So we'll do our housekeeping. You can check us out at theglorioblog.com. For now, you can follow us on Twitter at glorioblog. And he may want to check us out on co-host at Glorio. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, Stitcher, and of course you can check us out on YouTube, where you can like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. You know, leave us a comment with whether we're right or wrong, or if there's any other shows we're missing. That kind of stuff. Give us that engagement for the algorithm.
Yeah.
And
tell us what you think.
Besides, YouTube is going to be definitely fine. I mean, like, YouTube will never go away.
Yes, that's a permanent fixture. Yeah. So, tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch you over next time.